the 23rd and the 24th of September 2025 being the rapture day. And then it says, on the 15th of September 2032, I will return to earth as king.
So is the rapture going to take place this Feast of Trumpets, September of 2025? Well, I sure hope so, but now this right here is Brother Joshua. His videos have been making the rounds on the internet where he is claiming that the rapture is going to take place this Feast of Trumpets, September 23rd and the 24th, where then Jesus will come back 7 years later on the Feast or the Day of Atonement 2032. Now, people are either going fully on board with Joshua or going the opposite, completely hating the guy, calling him a false prophet, which, just a disclaimer, little heads up, you can't technically call him a false prophet yet, okay? I will get to that here in this video. Now, people have been commenting in some of my videos, asking me to make a response, asking my opinion. So with that being said, this video right here that I'm going to make, I want to give this disclaimer. This video is for mature believers who can take information, discern it, and then go to the Lord and not pass judgment, okay? Go into the Lord taking information. So with that, I'm going to present to you guys some information, all right? And then at the last half of the video, I will give you my opinion and my beliefs on what's going to possibly happen this September and what I feel or believe about this guy right here. So now with that being said, let's dive into God's word. All right, so once again, let me make this painfully and crystal clear for you. I'm just presenting to you guys information, okay? Take it or leave it. So with that being said, Joshua claims that he had a vision, that he saw Jesus, and Jesus told him he was coming to rapture the church. The second Exodus is what he called it. September 23rd and 24th, these are trumpets of 2025. That is the idea of nobody knows the day or hour, Hebrew idiom. And then 7 years later, he's going to come back at his second coming to judge the world. September 15th, 2032. Okay, 7 years. All right, that is the claim. We do not trust people off of a claim or what they are telling you, okay? We go to God's words. Now, here is a principle I want to show you guys in Daniel chapter 9, verse 2, where Daniel discerns the books. In the first year of his reign, Daniel, understood. He discerned by the books, by the scriptures, the number of the years specified by the word of the Lord through Jeremiah the prophet, that he would accomplish 70 years in the desolations of Jerusalem. All right, so here is the principle to take away. Daniel, through understanding, through discernment, going to God's word, through the book of Jeremiah, from the prophet Jeremiah, he was able to discern the exact years, the 70 years in the desolations of Jerusalem. Once again, this right here is a principle. So now that means that we can apply this principle in regard to any claim somebody comes telling us that the Lord gave them a message, okay? So that means whatever Joshua is saying that the Lord gave him, that we can now go to the Bible to discern through the books to see if what he is saying is adding up. Okay, so now with that, we know that Joshua claimed that Jesus said that he was going to rapture the church, the second Exodus, on the Feast of Trumpets, September 23rd or 24th. So we can check right here, and as we know clearly that September 23rd and 24th of this year is the Feast of Trumpets. He then claimed that Jesus told him that he would then return in 2032, September 15th, which happens to be the Day of Atonement. All right, so that is his claim. There is a 7-year time gap of September 23rd, 2025 to September 15th, 2032. But now we need to figure out the exact day count. Now, obviously, there's a lot of debates and confusion going on about how many days are actually going to be in Daniel's 70th week or whatnot. But again, I'm just going to present to you guys what I see in the scriptures. Take it to the Lord in your own time. Okay, again, just presenting to you guys information, but it seems pretty clear that we can see that the first half of Daniel's 70th week is seen right here with 1,260 days in Revelation 11:3, and I will give power to my 2 witnesses, and they will prophesy 1,260 days. Now, it seems pretty clear to me that this is the first half of Daniel's 70th week, because as we know, during the midpoint is when the Antichrist takes out the 2 witnesses. All right, so now that we have this speculation and this idea, the first half of Daniel's 70th week, the 7-year gap, is 1,260 days. So now we need to figure out the last half, the last remainder, how many days that is. Well, we can see in Daniel chapter 12, verse 11, and from the time that the daily sacrifice is taken away, so the midpoint when the Antichrist sets himself up in the temple, declaring himself to be God, and the abomination of desolation is set up, there shall be 1,290 days. Okay, so once again, I understand that some people are going to disagree. We all have our own different opinions, but I'm just presenting to you guys what I am seeing. Okay, so the first half, 1,260 days, and then the last half, 1,290 days. All right, so if we add these two to see the total time span, the total day count of these 7 years, we can see that the total comes out to 2,550 days. So now that we have the possible day count of Daniel's 70th week, again, I know people are going to disagree and debate, but again, just stay with me here, all right? So the possibility of Daniel's 70th week being exactly 2,550 days, all right? So now we have that number. So now we can check, again, using God's word to discern the books, all right? We come with that number, 2,550 days. So now we can go back to the claim of what Joshua said, that Jesus said the rapture, Daniel's 70th week, would happen September 23rd or 24th, the Feast of Trumpets, and then he would come back on the Day of Atonement, September 15th of 2032. So that means if that claim is true, there would have to be exactly 2,550 days between those two dates. Now look at this right here. What a wild coincidence. I wonder what the statistical chances are of those two dates perfectly adding up to 2,550 days on the date calculator online. We can see I took Tuesday, September 23rd, Feast of Trumpets of this year, and then you go all the way to 2032, September 15th, and that equals exactly 2,550 days. All right, once again, let me make something very clear. I'm just presenting to you guys information right here. Like many others on YouTube and TikTok and Instagram who've come to the same conclusion, just presenting to you guys information. Now, with that being said, there is something that I'm noticing online with a lot of individuals mocking and scoffing this idea that every year people talk about the Feast of Trumpets, that the rapture is going to happen on the Feast of Trumpets, and every year it comes and goes. Well, here's my thing, guys. The Feast of Trumpets is the feast of the Lord, okay? It is a moed. I'm going to show you exactly what a moed is. It is a dress rehearsal, okay? So, for those who hate date setting or date watching, you need to understand that if there is any date that you can legally, by God's word, watch, it is his appointed times, his moeds. Because now many are misinformed, thinking that these are the feasts of Israel, but in reality, they are the feasts of the Lord. They are the appointed times that the Lord has placed, prophetically showing his story of history. We know that with the first 4 feasts, the spring feast, that he fulfilled to a T, and he will also fulfill the last 3. Now it's just a matter of the timing. So that is why every Feast of Trumpets, we watch this time period because it is an appointed time. It is a dress rehearsal. Again, a moed is a appointed place, an appointed time. And as we can see in the context of Jewish tradition, a moed refers to a holy appointed time or feast of the Lord. A dress rehearsal in this context is a full-scale run-through of a ceremony or event that is meant to be a preview of the actual observance. And now, with that being said, there is an overwhelming amount of evidence pointing to the Feast of Trumpets being the fulfillment of the rapture, possibly in the future, and also kickstarting Daniel's 70th week, the last 7 years, the tribulation, and then the great tribulation, leading up to the Day of Atonement, which will be judgment, and then the Feast of Tabernacles will be the start of the millennial kingdom, or the beginning of God tabernacling, dwelling with man. So now I understand people's disdain and hatred for date setting, because a date is set, it comes and it goes, and people's emotions go up and down like this, right? But biblically speaking, if there's any time that we can be date watching, it's the Feast of Trumpets, the appointed times of the Lord, the moeds. These are dress rehearsals. Again, I am not claiming that we are going to be raptured for sure September 23rd and 24th, but biblically speaking, we are called to look to these appointed times. There is prophetic significance to them, and if you are not watching them, then you could possibly be caught like a thief in the night. As we know, Revelation 3:3, therefore, if you will not watch, I will come upon you like a thief, and you will not know what hour I will come upon you. So now, with that being said, what is my opinion on the matter? Well, I believe that we should all be living every single day as if we are going to see the Lord today. So make sure that you are trusting fully upon the Lord and do not worry what tomorrow holds. But with that being said, I also think it is wise to hold back judgment upon this guy until the day comes and goes, because you cannot technically call him a false prophet yet until September 25th, which I will be the first one to do so if his prophecy fails to be fulfilled. So again, with that, guys, do not put your faith in a date. You put your faith in Jesus, and you keep your eyes focused upon him, for he is truly the author and the perfecter of your faith. Love you all so much. God bless. Remember, the just shall live by faith.